Politicians can stare us in the face and say whatever they say and go back to do the opposite of what they said. Started from 1992. Supreme Military Council, which is the Achampon's government. When the coup was done by his colleagues like Afrifa, Kotoka, and others, Afrifa became the head of state for some months before the young officers of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, led by men like the Jerry John Rawlins and the Captain Kojochi, uh, Captain Agbadaka, and others, to overthrow the council, the Supreme Military Council. So they overthrew them, and through that there was bloodshed. They killed all the generals and the senior officers of the army, who were a threat to them. So they eliminated them, and they brought the country back to Republican status by allowing popular politicians like Dr. Hila Liman at that time to form a committee to write a new constitution for the Third Republic. So the new constitution was created, and Liman became president. So in 1978, that was the end of the Supreme Military Council, and from 1979, the new constitution was in place, and Dr. Hila Liman, a Northerner, became the president by popular vote, and he ruled and under serious circumstances. There were economic crisis. He seemed directionless, that he didn't know where he was taking the country, and it is on record that he was afraid of the military, the young military officers who had overthrown the older military class, which was ruling the country at that time. So people advised him to deal with those officers, and he said he had no grounds to charge them for anything. So the country, he was in power from the 1980s and 81. The young officers who were part of the Armed Forces Revolutionary Council came back to form what is called the Provisional National Defense Council. And they formed that movement to overthrow the Liman government. In fact, Liman was a peaceful man, but when we come to development or infrastructure, he didn't achieve much. Under him, the country was in crisis. There was a lot of inflation, a lot of borrowing, and a lot of fear because of the military upheavals, military dictatorship in the country. So Liman was overthrown by the Provisional National Defense Council, PNDC, which was led by Jerry John Rawlins again. And Liman was out of power. So Liman ran away from the country for his life, and the military, Provisional National Defense Council, a clique of military young officers led by a flight lieutenant, Jerry John Rawlins, and from 81 to 1991, for 10 years, he was the head of state, which means nobody voted for him. He was ruling like how Achampon ruled. He was ruling like how the Afrifas ruled Ghana, under the power of the gun. Nobody voted for him until, so through that, before 1981 to 1991, those 10 years was very hard years, especially 1983. There was hunger. There was hunger in the country, food shortages everywhere, and there was serious food crisis in the country. A lot of people went hungry. There was scarce commodity. Food, rice was a very scarce commodity. It was a luxury food item. The basic food commodities the people had then were all not available under the crisis of 1983 under the leadership of Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, who was the head of state. This man, in fact, was the man who brought the Fourth Republic. He instituted the Fourth Republic. He wrote the Constitution for the Fourth Republic in 1992. So he had been head of state for 10 years. In 1992, there were pressure on him to return the country back to Republican status, especially from the American government and local opposition. So he started easing the system to free his hands, showing the people that he was transitioning from military dictatorship to a popular multi-party political system. So 1992, he promulgated there was a plebiscite or consensus, a plebiscite to return the country back to democracy, and the people voted yes. The people voted for democracy. So the 1992 Constitution, which we know now, was written then, and he made that possible, and he stood to run as the first president of the Fourth Republic under the ticket of the National Democratic Congress, which came out of the Provisional National Defense Council, a military organization. Now it was turned into a political party in 1992, and he became the first president of the Fourth Republic. So he ruled for 4 years from 1992 into 1996, and he stood again in 1996. So by 1996, he needed a flag bearer. Before 1996, his flag bearer was Akar Inkenson Akar, and so he changed Akar in 1996, and when he became president in 1997, he chose the then professor of taxation at the University of Ghana, Professor Evans Atta Mills, to be his vice president, and they ruled for another 4 years. So he spent his 8 years of the Fourth Republic as president from 1992 to the year 2000, and under him he shares he had both sides, like sword that cut both sides. His major accomplishment is that he returned the country back to Republican status. That is popularly acclaimed for him, that he returned the country back to Republican status after the overthrow, that he was president or head of state without any popular vote for 10 years. And after that, he returned the country back and became a president for 8 years. As I said, he built the University of Development Studies at the North. So under Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, with his 10 years of being head of state, as a military head of state, didn't achieve much. So his second term as the president, from 1992 to the year 2000, we saw the country, the Ghana, opening up to development, some sort of development and economic enhancement. And according to the records, he is the longest serving president or any head of state of Ghana. He had most power, at least cumulative years, some 20 years as the leader, or if we take some 2 years out of it, it will be 18 years as the leader of Ghana. And his achievement, not that much to show. According to the circumstances or the fact as we see it, Mississippi will be Jerry John Rawlings, JJ Rawlings, or no, ne Omampania, Odia dear chair, sing Omampania. First, no a soldier for 10 years. And San Omaya Tony Swaba in 1992. Odia Kosi the year 2000. And ne tenure as president Ayatollah Swaba and San was a development. But before Sa about 1992 constitution, no money there. Now we were under dictatorship. Radio was sunset. Won't criticize the leader for any incompetent or any mismanagement. You'll be dealt with the military. There were arbitrary killing, like the killing of the 3 Supreme Court judges, which up to date has not come to accountability. Nobody can account who did that, who ordered that. So the country started opening up after the 1992 election and constitution, and we started practicing democracy again. So the democracy as we know it now was started from 1992. The propagandism of the politics we know now, the breach of propagandism that has been introduced into the politics as we see it, that a politician can stare us in the face and say whatever they say and go back to do the opposite of what they said, started from 1992. And they didn't have much to convince the people with, as in development, as in plans, as in vision. So they used propaganda. They pitted tribes against tribes. They pitted brothers against brothers. They pitted kings against kings. So the country became tribalized. So from 1992, we have tribal politics, that it would be where you come from that you can become a leader. It is where you aligned yourself to that you can become a leader in this country. Not the vision you have, not the charisma you have, not how popular or how good you have, or good name you have with the people, or how incredible, how much integrity you have. But it's all about propagandism. That started in 1992. And so the Fourth Republic, as we see it now, started in 1992, and President Jerry John Rawlings was the first president of that republic. In fact, he created the 1992 Constitution as we know it, with all the blemishes and the good side of it. Yes, it was created in 1992, and so after him, and he became one of the first president, or the first president, to hand over to the next president and become an ex-president. It was not like that before him, as overthrows and all has been a part of the political history since 1957. So he handed over to Kufuor when the NDC lost. When the Tamils of the NDC stood against Kufuor, it was under ex-president Jerry Rawlings' tenure that the country's assets, national assets, started being privatized to private people, to local rich and colleagues and friends and businessmen, to foreign rich business partners. So, for example, there was a state corporation built by General Ike Achampong called the Ghana Meat Board, where they control the meat production and meat storage in the country. There was a factory at the and Jerry John Rawlings met it. Instead of enhancing it and using it for the purpose it was built, this leader sold it for a private person, not to turn it to a business or a factory as it was intended for. But this business person was a religious businessman who turned that corporation into a business of a church. That now the current generation of youth go there to pray for jobs, but not knowing that, forgetting that it was job that was created, that had been sold for the religious leader to come tell the youth to come and pray for job opportunities. So such were the some of the crises and the um, facts pertaining to the government of Jerry John Rawlings and his major downfall, major damage, as we say. His highest point was to bring the country back to democracy. We'll give him that. History will give him that. As much as it is not perfect, he gave us a Republican constitution that we can vote whoever we want to be leader, either through trickery or what we vote, and that is in the sense of Republican democracy. So on his bad side, on the flip side, his lowest or the his lowest achievement is when he changed the educational system from the advanced level, that is A level, uh, to senior high schools, and from the ordinary level to junior high schools, the SSS and the JSS. That is a rote education that um, was opposite of the real school that the advanced and the ordinary levels were given to the local indigenous Ghanaians from independence up to 1992. This current educational system we have started in the 1992 educational reform initiated by the Jerry John Rawlings government in 1992. They scrapped the good education that the advanced and ordinary levels used to give to the citizens and replaced it with a senior high school or the SSS, which has no practical to it. It was purely rote. They were training students for smart memory, not for intelligence. For example, in the advanced system, in the advanced educational system or educational level, or even the ordinary educational level, every student, by the time you're done with your level, you could be able to produce your own utilities, things you need at home, like stools, like benches. You need at home. Every Form 4 leaver or sixth form leaver and knows how to do it. You must have a toolbox that you take home with you. And so when you need pretty utilities at home, you go buy your wood and you cut your wood with your son or your friend and you build a bench for yourself or a table for yourself. The carpenter goes to school to learn real stuff, and they produce real product to get real money. But after 1992, the JSO system, there were no practicals to it. Now students were learning carpentry on the board, that a teacher can draw a chisel on the board, name the part of the chisel, and tell the student to draw the chisel in their notebooks. They name the part of the chisel, and you memorize that, and you write exams on the parts of the chisel. That was the lowest point of Jerry John Rawlings. That to us, the current generation, that to me, the current generation is his lowest downfall. That is the biggest damage he did to this country. That now we can't produce benches, we can't produce the basic utility items we need, and the carpenters have been reduced to producing those stuff. Now the level of intelligence of the average Ghanaian is too low. It is too basic, because that is how the government wanted it. He was convinced that by reducing the level of knowledge or the level of thinking of the people through the education, now nobody can plan a coup. A JSS, and in fact a JSS SSS leaver in the army cannot make a coup. No offense to the military men, I salute, but that is a fact. I've got it, and I present it to you in the most respectable language I can give you. That is all I can say. It is a fact, and I'm not to blame if I say that, but the person who did that. So Jerry John Rawlings did that, and he has devalued the mindset of the Ghanaian citizen from 1992. It is likely that most of the current generation, the blame the older generation gave us, that we don't want to learn, We have no way of learning. We don't know what is going on. They all comes from the 1992 educational reform. That by being a JSS leaver, you wouldn't even know the history of your own country. And you will hear two so-called educated secondary school leavers and JSS leavers arguing about simple fact of our ancestry, which everybody should know, but we have it here. We don't have a common history. We don't have a common truth as a culture because of the educational system. The mindset of the Ghanaian has been devalued, has been brought down from high level to a low level because of the education. Yes, and we, the people of the country, are the most priceless or the most expensive resource of the country. And if any leader seeks to devalue or not interested in enriching the highest resource of the land, that is the biggest fault of any leader actually. So those are the facts pertaining to ex-president Jerry John Rawlings. As every leader have their ups, their right and wrongs. So I give you the fact according to me, Mississippi. Sir, Ghana ha school na yɛkɔ yɛmba ɛne yɛn nuanom a yɛn nyinaa yɛkɔɔɛ no yɛmu bi Jesus kafo mma no na ɔmo nkɔ bi, politicians mma no nkɔ bi, nea yɛfrɛ no Saito a yɛfrɛ no JSS no a yɛnim sisi ano a yɛkyerɛ nkɔlaa no adeɛ ni sɛ ɔmo sua wɔ ha no yɛstarte 1992 ɛna Jerry John Rawlings ɔno na starte saa system no oyi A level ɛne O level efi system no a na aborɔfo no de training Ghana for koraa na yɛgye independence. Kwame Nkrumah bɛhyɛ mu kana ama ɛbɛto ɔno in 1992 ɔde bɛyɛ £9 million ɛsesa educational system no from a higher level, good level to a lower level. Sisi ankola no ɔmo yɛtwerɛ gu board so na ɔmo copy na ɔmo akɔsua na ɔmo akɔtwerɛ ho exams na ɔmo maame wote fie wo so back to school ɔba fie na o bench no dadoa na tu afi wɔ kɔ ntimi mfa hama mbɔ ɔde hama no bɛbɔ no ansa nti ɛno na yɛ educational system a yɛnya fi the government of Jerry John Rawlings. That is the lowest point. So we move on to the next leader after him. The next leader after Jerry John Rawlings is the Gentle Jack, as they called him, President John Agyekum Kufuor. And forgive me if I didn't tell you, the tribe of ex-president Hilla Liman, he was a Northerner. He was a Northerner, and ex-president Jerry John Rawlings. He is from the Volta region, but in fact, his father was a white man. So his mother is Davi Agbatui from the Angola Volta region. And we move on to the next leader, who is an Ashanti man, John Agyekum Kufuor. They called him by the nickname Gentle Jack. And he came after ex-president Jerry John Rawlings. And this man inherited a promising country after a long drought of crisis and all, in the sense that before his government, the ex-president Jerry John Rawlings had been in power as the head of state for 10 years. So he had lost many allies. He had allied himself with powers that could help him be in power. Like the Sani Abachas of Nigeria, he aligned himself with other head of state or dictators around the continent. So the country were denied of the foreign partnership that we used to enjoy. And when Kufuor came, he enjoyed a good business terrain. So Kufuor, ex-president President Kufuor, from the year 2001 to 2008, was the next president after Jerry John Rawlings. So this man inherited a good terrain of a country. It means the country had started opening up to foreign investment and business because the foreign allies know that the military leader is gone and there's a democratic gentleman, so-called gentleman, so to be the president. So the country, new allies started coming to Ghana in the form of foreign direct investment. So during Kufuor's time, he got a lot of money from foreign donors and foreign countries. That for the first time in the history of Ghana, banks had a lot of money to give loans. That they started pushing people out to go and convince people on the outside to come and take loans from the banks. And under Kufuor's time, that he started the free primary. He started a free primary school education by not collecting school fees for primary schools, and he started the free food school feeding program. He started some promising initiatives for the country, and Ghana started becoming a modern democracy. His type of government was property owning government, as he used to say it, a property owning government. That he started privatizing national assets and state corporations, as some earlier leaders have done. So it was Kufuor's time that Ghana struck oil. For the first time, Ghana struck oil in the year 2007, and Kufuor was the president. And he brought Tullow and Cosmos Energy to come and exploit our oil. And that, we all know the history, how one-sided that deal have gone for the country. And Kufuor, it was Kufuor's time that he took the country under the HIPC initiative. HIPC, which stands for Highly Indebted Poor Country. Now Ghana was known as a HIPC country, highly indebted poor country. And I'm trying to say, President Kufuor time, and now the Ghana could share IMF program. Your friend HIPC, very popular. As trying to say, country, Omaya, Onishi, or Sande Kapa, Omaya, Onishi, or Sande highly indebted poor country. So that was what Ghana was known under Kufuor. And under that initiative, Ghana was given a lot of money. Countries which Ghana owed, now they gave up the money. They didn't want to collect the money from Ghana, so a lot of money started coming in to the government. And under the Kufuor, that Ghana boasted that $1 is equal to 1 cedi. That inflation was so low that the country's currency, which is the cedi, became $1, was equal to. So it was under Kufuor, that was part of his high achievement. And it was under Kufuor that they privatized state companies like the Ghana Telecom to Vodafone. And other state corporations, they started privatizing them, and as we know it, their government was private enterprise, that they would enhance the gains and investment of private people and private enterprise more than the local people. So Kufuor's government, even though he had a lot of economic gains, and which he used some in the form of national health insurance, that he brought the country under one national cover as national health insurance, and he built he instituted childbirth for pregnant mothers and during his tenure, and he upgraded the Kolebu Teaching Hospital by building other facilities to it. So his government is a mismatch of good and bad, in the sense that he was a maximalist president. It means he had a lot but achieved little, like the others, like most Ghanaian leaders have shown to be, that they were maximalist, a kind of leader who need a lot to produce less. That's what. So Kufuor was part of them. They had a lot of help from outside, but couldn't achieve more than what we needed, or more of what we needed. So that was President John Agyekum Kufuor, who was known as the General Jack. He ruled for eight years. And after that 8 years came the President John Evans Atta Mills of the NDC, a phantom man. And the next leader I'm going to talk about had goodwill, in the sense that this was a man who was touted as a very principled man, and that is President John Atta Mills. And he had a good heart. So under him, he brought the country's civil service under one salary or emolument umbrella called the single spine structure, which sought to regulate the salary structure, that everybody will get what they deserve and equally no bias. So he brought that initiative, and he also brought the he enhanced the free food for primary, and free no school fees for primary school. He enhanced it, and he was a man who believed in education. So under ex-president Atta Mills, the country's inflation was so low that Ghana was on course of having international direct investments, as they will call it. But still, Ghana was not industrialized, and it was proving that this man was a man who had the people's interest at heart. So he initiated some policies to benefit the local people, which is Atta Mills. Na ni dwumadie any facts no betre say no wadwen pa say obeye, because ono nso no gyenkromadi nti and Atta Mills na Kwame Nkrumah ne birthday 21st September of every year be a holiday, and anya holiday amagana nko AU holiday, which na that time no AU president in the year 2009. In that 2009 was the 100th anniversary of Osagyefo, who was born on 21st September 1909. So in the year 2009 was the 100th anniversary, and the Ghanaian president at that time was the head of the African Union, and he promulgated that Osagyefo centenary or 100 years anniversary should be promulgated as an AU holiday, which means his birthday on the 21st September would be celebrated by all the members of the African Union. And in such, they built the statue of Osagyefo at the AU headquarters in Ethiopia. And that's how come we have the Osagyefo statue in front of the AU headquarters. He became the face of the AU. He became the aim of the AU, even though his ideologies are not properly proselytized in such gatherings. So at times, and a day, Osagyefo Founders Day holiday in the Bay on 21st September every year. So the good president with the nickname, popular nickname, Asumdwehene, which means peaceful man. Atta Mills, as he was known by, that he was very peaceful. He was very peaceful man with good intentions, and he ruled from 2009, and he was spent 8 years. And during his second term, unfortunately, the man died due to illness. In fact, the president died he had an attack at the Flagstaff House as sitting president, and he was being transported to the 37 military hospital, which was closer to the Flagstaff House. And on the way, the president passed out, or we lost the president. He died on the way to 37 military hospital, and his vice president, um, John Dramani Mahama, the handsome and eloquent John Dramani Mahama, became the president. Mm, um, 2 days after the birthday of the deceased president, President Atamos, in the sense that the president died on 24th July, 2012, and 22nd July was his birthday. So 2 days earlier, he had celebrated his birthday, and one peculiar fact about that day was that the birthday of the president, during that day, his vice president was not in the country. During that time, his vice president, Mr. John Mahama, had written his book called My First Coup d'etat, and he was revealing that book. He was outdooring that book in America, in New York. He was a Ghanaian ex-president, a Ghanaian vice president, and whose president celebrated birthday 2 days earlier. And on the 22nd, the vice president was in America outdooring his book, unveiling his book called My First Coup d'etat. And that book was not released in Ghana yet. It was only released in New York on the 22nd of July. 2 days after the release of that book and the celebration of the birthday of the president died on the 24th of July 2012, and his vice returned to the country to assume the post of the president. And according to the facts I present to you, Mr. Mahama said that the deceased president, Atamos, was his friend, was his mentor, was his teacher and all. But 2 days before that, he had the opportunity to tell him, but unfortunately, he was not there. So the good man Atamos died, and President Mahama, ex-President Mahama, assumed the post to continue the 8-year tenure of President Mills. So, in some 4 months into the end of 2012, in December, Mahama was the president then, until the tenure of Atamos ended, and he stood on the ticket of the NDC as the next president against the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa, the current president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And Mahama won that election in 2012, and he became the president 7th January 2013 as the president of Ghana. And he ruled in his 4 years tenure. He sought to complete the agenda, the Better Ghana agenda of President Atamos, to continue it to fruition. So he started some initiatives of his own, such as the Saglemi housing facility building, affordable housing to accommodate poor income families and citizens of Ghana. And he embarked on some economic endeavors, like in the north, raising of poultry, precisely guinea pigs, that one day Ghanaians realized or learned that the government says the guinea pigs are all flown away, and it was under President Mohammed's tenure that Ghana had a power crisis that came to be known as Dumsor. Dumsor, that during his 4-year tenure, Ghana was in darkness. That Ghana couldn't manage the Akosombo Dam to produce electricity for the country, so the country was in darkness for some 3 years into the end of his term, and that became the bane of the campaign of 2016, and the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, stood again against Mahama in the 2016 elections. And in fact, it is President Mahama is the first president to be taken to court over election dispute. And in fact, it was the next president who took Mahama to court over that election dispute. And it took some 9 months for the Supreme Court to settle the case. The case that the opposition didn't have credible and factual data to show that the election had been rigged. So he couldn't turn the verdict of the people. And President Mahama continued to be the president. So his lowest achievement would have been the electricity crisis of his government that gave the popular name Dumsor, and that became the bane when he lost in the 2016 election against the current president, Akufo-Addo. So that is the background of President Mahama as the president. And by tribe, he's a Northerner. He's a Gonja by tribe. So we move on to the next president after Mahama lost in 2016. And on January 7th, 2017, the current president, Mr. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, became the president of Ghana. He won the election of 2016. He won, and it was under he is the first person to take a president to court over an election dispute, and he was also taken to court by ex-president Mahama over the 2016 election for election dispute, and he also lost. The current president, he became president in 2017, and his governance started on a cool note. He gave Ghanaians hope for a long time because he spoke the language of the old school, the Buzia and the Dankwa clan. It means they are highly vocal, they are highly eloquent, but when it comes to achieving what they say they would achieve, we are all witnesses to it, as we can see. This is not long history. This is current history, as he is a current president. And with all due respect, I would accord him. He's the president of the land, so I give him that. But the fact is fact, and I am here to give you the fact. So we go to the government of President Akufo-Addo. He became the president under the promise that Ghanaians shouldn't be spectators. They should be active citizens. It means when we see wrong, we say it. It means Tisania Akanfo Ebeka say Neo Trasano Onim Senechiachia. Yeah, I want a chino. A moment in the chin and a betray and say, Wachiachia, Tracose. Intia no na President Akufo-Addo or catch a Ghana for say Yamano, Yambuano. Number a good president. So we trying to say no chia. near Chireno. So by populist talk, yeah, he won the heart of the people. He said that Ghana would go beyond aid. For his first term, he introduced good initiatives, and his high mark would be the free senior high school initiative that he introduced in the country. That for the longest and the first time that there is total absorption of school fees by the government for all basic school, from the primary to the senior high schools. It is under him that he achieved that, and that has proven to be his high point, his high achievement, in the sense that even though his critics would say the education system is highly deplorable, that it has to be reformed back to the original status of a good education system before it can be free. So he making it free now without any improvement or any reform in the educational system means nothing. So since his term in 2016, he made the education system from the basic level of primary to secondary school free for students. And under him, Ghana, the country, people started believing that he would do his best, but getting to the end of his government, things started going the other way around. And in the first tenure, at the end of his first tenure, was COVID-19. That is the coronavirus, and that disrupted part of the gains he achieved in his first term. So, on the record, his dealing with the coronavirus, he showed some wisdom, yes, and collaborative and cooperation in the handling of the coronavirus, which was a global pandemic, and his handling of vaccines, procurement of vaccines, even though it was riddled with allegations of corruption and price inflation and all. He handled it fairly good, as his critics would say. So he won. He won his second term from 2020. So 2021, he became January 7, 2021. President Akufo-Addo became the president, and he reiterated the point that Ghanaians shouldn't be spectators; they should help him govern. And during his second term, now the president started eroding all the gains he had made in his first term, as in his economic decisions started going against the Ghanaian people. He became unpopular for many economic decisions, in the sense that he is the president who had borrowed more than any other leader of the Fourth Republic. Yes, it is a fact. And in fact, he said he wouldn't use the national money from the national coffers to build the cathedral, but it has turned out that that was a lie. And the cathedral he built, he didn't even start it on an empty ground. There was a whole residential area that he had to raise down to build his cathedral. Mekyerɛ sɛ President Akufo-Addo na obedi adeɛ no ɔse nyame boa no na obedi adeɛ obesi asɔredan ama ne nyame, because before obedi adeɛ no kora ne motto ne yɛ the battle is the Lord. Kyerɛ sɛ ntɔkwa ne yɛ nyame dea, anaa ntɔkwa ne yɛ Kristo dea. Nti owini a obesi asɔredan ama ne Nyankopɔn, ma nyame boa no through Ghana for. Even though Nyankopo ambeto aba na ma no, Ghana for ne yɛto no winnie ye. O winnie ye no. Asɔredan na ɔsi obesi no. Ɛnyɛ sɛ president no kɔ fast as foforo bi a ayɛ kwae bi wɔ baabi na ɔde si asɔredan no ama ne Nyankopɔn. Nanso baabi a na judges for ɛnyɛ no low place to say baabi a judges for. Ɛkyerɛ baabi a judges for te sɛ ohun sɛ a good and respected area in cantonment. Na your president ne sɛ hɔ na wɔ sɛ osi na asɔredan no ma Nyankopɔn. Na saa asɔredan no osi a ɛbɛma nkurɔfoɔ agya Israel akɔ baabi a yɛsɛ yɛwɔ Yesu no a da bia anaasɛ afe bia amanfoɔ kɔhwɛ hɔ no a ɔno koraa wakɔ hɔ da ɔse obesi cathedral no na amanfoɔ agya hɔ kɔ nti obesi saa cathedral no yɛhwɛ no president ne sɛ ɔmfa ɛnyɛ aman ne sika na ɔde besi ana government sika ɛma ɔsrɛ ntoboa ne efi asɔrefoɔ no sɛ ɔmomboa ne businessmen me koraa meyi sika menye ntoboa because obesi nya asɔredan ma Nyankopɔn nti meyi bi ɛma it turned out to be a hoax. Now the place which is supposed to be the tourist attraction for the cathedral is now a hole. It's now a deep gully. It's now a deep hole in the center of the city, filled with dirty water. So in the form, it has become a swimming pool, and it has been touted as the most expensive pit in the world. Yes, our president, the current president, did that, and he's the president who initiated a tax regime called the e-levy. We have a tax regime called the COVID tax, and so for the second term of President Akufo-Addo, it has been acclimatized with incompetence, derailing and erasing all the gains of his first tenure as president. He's the president who added more regions to the country from 10 regions to 16 regions, in the vein that initiative would give people in the country in different zones the right identity. For example, he created the Oti region from the Volta region, which was part of the Volta region, in the sense that and in the wisdom that the people of the Volta region have been known to be Evers, predominantly Evers, or popularly Evers. But on the inside, the other tribes like the Guans, who are there, who are not Evers, but they occupy a zone called the Volta region, which has been acclimatized with Evers. So he sought to change that and give them their own identity by creating their region for them called the Oti region, which is a Guan region in that area. And his critics are saying that he did that politically to reduce the power of the opposition government, opposition party, which have its majority in the Ever community or Ever region of the Volta region. And when we go to the Bono region, he created new region from the main Brongahafo region. Now we have 2 regions from that region. So from a 10 region to 16 region is a legacy by the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And he stole the current president of the country, Ghana. And that brings us to the list of the 10 presidents we've brought to you, and that I have presented to you this list of 10 presidents. So by way of explanation and by way of the facts that I've presented to you, you can make your own mind and settle this debate by yourself, that who is the best president since independence. That when I put that question to you, after listening to me, now you can answer that question boldly to anyone. That it is clear who the first president of Ghana is. So I want to hear that in the comment section. I want to know your thought, who you think after listening to this segment, or this episode, who is the best president of Ghana since independence. Let's engage. It is my wish that you would learn. It is my wish that you would have knowledge. And knowledge don't come by accident. It is taught. So I'm here to present knowledge to you, and patriotic knowledge. Knowledge to bring your mind to the love of your country, to bring your mind to the development of your country, that the progress and development of the country will not come by prayer, will not come by begging, will not come by belief. It would only come by action. And action is only driven by knowledge. And in this current age, I would say we don't just need any kind of knowledge, because there are different types of knowledge. And what you need is the right knowledge. And the right knowledge is what I'm here to give you. So follow, subscribe, like, comment, let's engage, tell people about this program. This is a content for you and to open your mind. This is a content to feed your mind. This is a content to feed your spirit. I'm here to engage the higher self of you. I'm not here to patronize your lower self. I'm here to engage with you on your higher self. To send you out quiet more. I have been more in a bit the ansana. One Erinam anu moja naba. Inti mwana omunu moja ne omurinam omubanso de anababieu. So this is a kind of program that, after all the herbivores have come to feast, now the carnivore is here. I'm here to feed you with a big meat of knowledge, the right knowledge, to conscientize you, to be patriotic, to know what is good and what is wrong, to follow what is worthy. We have to make the right judgment, because you're seeing Chima Bebuaten, Ntiyabaha say Bebuaten. This is the judgment of the youth based on fact and knowledge. I am Barry Makobnaya Boa, Mississippi. This is the fact according to me. Thank you. I swear to watch any more dimbo, no one able to me, I'm a yadin kunim.